Okay, you're back on the air with the Restaurant Brokers, and this is our Restaurant Reality segment. Well, today's show has been a focus on the International Franchise Association Convention and some of the great talent and resources to be found there. But, Eric, let's talk about this. What's the reality of franchising for someone listening who has a new restaurant that thinks they want to go down that path?
Well, Robin, it's very similar to any people that want to be in the industry currently, a single unit, or have, currently want to expand. Franchising will cost more than you think, take longer than you think, and ultimately be a larger challenge than what you think will be when you start it.
I agree. Sounds just like starting a restaurant. Costs more, take longer, and be more difficult than you ever believed.
And there's going to be so many curveballs that you did not expect, or things that you are not even thinking about right now that could be. It's not just like, hey, I have a successful restaurant, I'm making a lot of money, and I just think I can show somebody how to do this, and they can just send me some money in a mailbox, and every Monday morning I want to walk in my mailbox and have 5% of their sales from the past week, Robin.
I think that that's a great pipe dream, but I agree with you. So let's talk about like dollars and cents. For example, some of the realistic costs for franchising. What the first thing that comes to mind for me is that franchise consultant.
Yeah, which is a very important part. Because the consultant, a lot of people say, oh, I just need this document, and then I can sell franchises. In a way, that's correct. But first, the consultant needs to come in first. They are going to be looking at, can I franchise my concept? Am I ready to franchise my concept? And give you a lot of pre-franchising questions and test the validity of your assessment. And these vary. They talk about cost. These people vary from 20,000 to several hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, this is something that you have to really be careful of. A little bit of experience. And Robin and I, when we franchised, we interviewed probably a dozen consultants before we settled on one.
Had to be at least that number.
Yeah, and it was very mind-boggling because the price was very wide range. Their services were wide range. It was coming from, I'll do everything for you for a price, or the other one was like some fine dining restaurant where everything's a la carte.
Yeah, and the bottom line is there are both good and bad consultants out there. So the same way in our interview today with Planet Smoothie, the executive there said, make sure you interview. You've got to do the same thing. If you're going to hire someone and say, convert my brand into something that can be replicated to multiple people. And that's not the only cost, because you also need, on the other side of that team, you also need a franchise attorney. And why is that?
Because, by the way, this is regulated by the SEC. You have to be filed with the SEC, so it is a legal
The
document.
Federal Trade Commission.
Sorry, FTC. Sorry, yep, the Federal Trade Commission. Thank you for correcting me. And you have a document here that's going to be your binding agreement. So it has to be done by an attorney. And this FDD, also known as a franchise disclosure document, it's a pretty lengthy document. I mean, we're talking, at least probably on the thin side, 80 pages to, if you look at a Subway franchise document, you're probably looking at thousands of pages. So you have to have some help with some very, very sharp legal advisors, understands your business, as well as tied back in to your policy procedure manual that you're going to be doing, Robin. And what they do, they have to connect together. So you have to have a team that's going to, your consultant and your lawyer is going to have to work together very, very closely to get a successful franchise operations, right?
And the reality is, some folks will say to us, literally, okay, I'm putting in my first franchise unit, so they don't have a dollar's worth of sales yet. They haven't proven their concept at all, but they're ready then to go out and resell that to someone else. And one thing you should be aware of in that franchise disclosure document is what's called Item 19. Everyone's Item 19 is the same, and the Item 19 is how much money did your units do last year and what was the profitability of those units. And if you're not willing to disclose that, you're under no obligation to. But if you choose to disclose it, then it has to be audited. There has to be a certain amount of structure and really controls over what you're putting down on that document.
Yeah, you can't just walk up to somebody and say, hey, Mr. Jones, you can come to my franchise. You can set up one of my restaurants. I guarantee you'll make $100,000 a year. Your attorney probably will like to tell you, I guarantee you'll end up in jail really soon. So be careful. There's a lot of rules and regulation, and you need, again, to educate yourself what you can say, cannot say as a franchisor. Robin and I dealt with franchise resellers for over 10 plus years before we start our franchise, and we had to sit down with our consultant, our attorney, pretty much for 2 full days to learn the do's and don'ts of what can we say, what can we not say to prospects, to our franchisees currently, and to our prospects. So this is a lot of learning, and the IFA is such a great place. Even if you say, well, I don't have a franchise right now, even if you're thinking about it, this is where you're going to see many franchise consultants on the showroom floor, many attorneys, and you can sit down, grab an attorney, say, hey, Mr. Attorney, can I sit down and buy you a cup of coffee? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. Robin and I late into the conference, 3 hours, it was 7 o'clock at night, we reach out to these 2 people that we thought were very interesting in marketing and said, you want to have a cocktail? And they came, met us at the bar, and we had a meeting with them, impromptu meeting for 3 hours, Robin? It was a phenomenal session.
And these were, just rock stars in their industry, $5 million in revenue their second year out of the gate. So, you're always learning, and that's really what it's all about. And the great thing is, if you have the mindset to get into the restaurant business, the great thing about franchising is somebody's already proven the model. They've proven the system, and they have results out there. And with that in mind, let's talk about some of the franchise restaurants that we have for sale. You could flip the key over tomorrow and be in business.
That's right. These are stores that already have proven track records, which makes a great buy for anybody that wants to be in the business. We have, for instance, Atlanta Bread Company and the Atlanta Metro Market, making over 6 figures in earnings on the books. Because one thing about franchise, you'll realize that they have very, very good books of record. All of them do, because of the requirements of the franchisor. So you'll be very comfortable with their financial disclosure. And it's a very, very high traffic, big lunch area. That store's on the market for only $365,000.
And the great thing about a franchise resale, we talked about that item 19. You may not get any numbers on the item 19, but when you're buying a business that's been there, the books and records are in place to substantiate exactly what they've been doing in volume. We have a backyard burger for sale in the panhandle of Florida. Now, typically we don't talk about the time of year, but this show's around the IFA, so it's almost time for spring break, and beach season is coming upon us. This store is turnkey. They are open and operating, and you can pick it up for under $100,000.
Yeah, brand new store, cost to build out $550,000. This store's got over $750,000 in current sales, running owner absentee, meaning that if you're going to go run your store yourself, you'll probably find even more benefits and more financial rewards than you currently have. We also have, for those of you who want something a little bit more on the surface simple, Blimpie Sandwich franchise, which they're becoming a resurgence into different ways. And you can have an established store right now with earnings on the books of about $30,000, and that's selling for $69,000, Rob.
$69,000, that's crazy good. And lastly, the largest restaurant chain in the world, Subway. Everybody wants a Subway. We have a location in Georgia with multiple contracts on it, but I just picked up a new listing in Stamford, Connecticut. Gorgeous store, beautifully built out, open and operating. You can turn the key on this one for just $199,000. But don't stop there. Go on to our website, We Sell Restaurants, WeSellRestaurants.com. You can find us online there and all of our listings. Wish you would take a quick moment, too, and go to our Facebook page, because we put our new listings up there, Eric, franchise resales and non-franchise sales. And our Facebook page is facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants. We also connect you on our Twitter handle with all the industry information that's happening, and we're also on LinkedIn. Our Twitter handle is Sell Restaurants. You're on the air with Eric and Robin Gagnon. We've enjoyed the chance to visit with you this week about the International Franchise Association and the many things you can learn by interacting with your peers and develop mentors in this industry. Remember, We Sell Restaurants is your industry authority and source for information. We are the restaurant brokers, Eric and Robin Gagnon.